Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're gathered here today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 and want to recognize the Métis people who share a special connection with this land. This is a very serious time for public health care in Alberta. We're seeing literal lines out the door of emergency rooms, children being forced to wait 90 minutes or more before they're even triaged. We have frequent and sporadic closures of critical health services like obstetrics care in various rural Alberta communities. Tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of Albertans have no access to a family doctor. And new data suggests today that Alberta has missed its targets for wait times. And a new study found more youth have died here during the pandemic than elsewhere due directly to the policies and the lack of leadership of the current UCP government. A government that has repeatedly shown that they have no respect for frontline healthcare workers and that there is one decision that makes this crystal clear. Just over a month ago, the UCP fired Dr. Verna, who by all credible accounts from the front lines of our hospitals worked incredibly hard and provided exceptional service to Albertans. For years, Dr. Yu steered the Alberta health system with honesty, integrity, skill, and grace. She kept healthcare functioning during a pandemic while the UCP's incompetence and arrogance nearly toppled our hospitals. She led and inspired healthcare workers through some of the most difficult times they have ever faced, even as the decisions of their government left them increasingly exhausted and demoralized. Albertans owe Dr. Yu a debt of gratitude. That's something the UCP has clearly never understood. In fact, as documents obtained by our caucus show, the UCP's plan was to try to downplay the enormity of the decision. In fact, Health Minister Jason Copping's plan was to claim that there was more chaos attributed to the hiring of Dr. Yu than there was with firing her. Now, this is implied in a questions and answers section, which is entitled, "Why are you throwing the system into chaos?" The actual reality was that under Dr. Yu and the NDP government, healthcare was in a time of relative stability with level and reliable access to care. The progress we made on public healthcare, working collaboratively with Dr. Yu and our frontline healthcare workers, has been completely undone and undermined by the UCP. The proof of the devastation just keeps coming. Reports released yesterday detail that the UCP has missed their targets for surgical wait times for operations like knee replacements. And a separate report details a shocking and tragic increase in the deaths of young people during the pandemic. And what has the government's response been to all of this? Their own talking points attempted to downplay Dr. Yu's firing, claiming it was part of the plan, that it shouldn't have come as a surprise that she was being removed a full year before her contract expired, a contract that, for the record, they had just extended last year. But Dr. Yu's firing delivered a body blow to frontline healthcare workers already at their tipping point. And the decision has been widely panned as political retribution for her speaking out against unfathomable decisions by the UCP government during the pandemic, such as their order that AHS not require healthcare workers to be vaccinated against COVID-19. And it's suspected also for her unapologetic and unwavering support for public healthcare, and not the private American-style model that the UCP seems intent on ramming through without any regard for the damage that will be left in its wake. Now, since the UCP decided to fire Dr. Yu, we've seen even more chaos in our public health care system. Ambulances lined up down the street in Red Deer, unable to offload patients facing medical emergencies. We've seen general surgeries diverted away from that same hospital over and over. There are reports today in the media of 911 calls backed up 40 deep. Rural healthcare closures are becoming a near daily occurrence. And perhaps most devastating of all, there have been lines of sick children forced to wait outside the children's hospitals in Calgary and in Edmonton because there was simply no room for them in the emergency room. Dr. Paul Parks, the head of the emergency section with the Alberta Medical Association, reports that it's taking 90 minutes just to triage a child coming into the emergency room. He has never seen it this bad. He told Calgary Herald columnist Don Braid last week, there is only one government making decisions and its policies are devastating. Now, my heart goes out to Dr. Paul Parks and all of the frontline healthcare workers who continue to press ahead against the heavy odds stacked against them by this UCP government, who continue to put public health care first, and who believe in Dr. Yu's vision for improving and promoting public health care. To them, I want to say this. You all deserve a government that will be a collaborative partner and not an agent of chaos and mistrust. You deserve a government that will be there for you after all you have done to be there for us. Alberta's NDP intends to be that government. We intend to celebrate you, the heroes of our healthcare system, and to work on solutions rather than insult and belittle those who report chaos from the front lines. Dr. Verna, you deserved better from this government. All of you, every Albertan, deserves better. Thank you, and I'm happy to take your questions.
All right, we'll go to the Zoom and phones for question. If you do have a question, please press *9 or raise hand if you are on Zoom. And caller, your line should be open.
Hi there, Terry Sikowski from CTV. Sorry for the delay there, just tech here, of course. I'm just wondering if you're able to, if you've had a chance to look at the CIHI report on surgery wait times, specifically elective surgeries and the delays for hip and knee replacements in Alberta. We've heard from the director that this is dealing with the major problem is staffing shortages. Just wondering if you have any comment to that.
So I haven't had a chance to review the specific report. I've gotten sort of some Coles notes from some of our staff, and indeed it seems that Alberta has missed its targets that this government has set. And as you note, if the cause of that is a staffing shortage, well, it's pretty clear whose responsibility that is and whose failure has driven that. And this UCP government has, from the beginning, attacked and villainized frontline healthcare workers, has called them entitled, lazy, suggested that they don't put in enough effort in their job, went on to attack doctors at the beginning of the pandemic, continue that attack, a vicious attack, a smear attack on social media with an incredibly combative minister. Take a bullying posture towards frontline healthcare workers and then push them to the limits, utterly exhaust them in the midst of the pandemic. So they have driven healthcare workers out of the province, including anesthesiologists and clinical hospitalists and others who are essential to maintain surgeries. And at the same time, they have utterly exhausted the nurses and others that remain here in the province of Alberta and pushed our healthcare system to the point where we were unable to provide the capacity, indeed had to cancel tens of thousands of surgeries in the midst of the fourth wave, and indeed again in the fifth. So indeed, we have missed those targets, and it is directly on the hands of this UCP government. This is one of their flagship policies. This is what they claim they're going to ride to victory on. And they've utterly failed on that. They have failed in every aspect of this healthcare system. Dr. Paul Parks said in his interview with Don Braid, he said, you know, this is spread into every corner of our healthcare system. And unfortunately, Albertans are left to pay the price.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll make another call for questions. If you are on the Zoom, please use the raise hand function, or on the phones, press *9. And seeing no more, that will conclude our press conference for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Much for watching, and to learn more, check out albertasfuture.ca.